Hello there. My name is Paul Engel. We are here at the Constitution Study to read and study our Constitution, to return it to our rightful owners, the people of the United States of America, and most importantly, to teach the rising generation to be free. Glad you could join me here today. We're going to have an interesting episode. I have an interesting topic for today. But first, I want to say hello. Glad you could join me. If you are new to the Constitution Study, dive right in. I think you'll have some fun. I think you will enjoy it. You can find more information at our website, constitutionstudy.com. You can find other podcast episodes. You can find articles and information. And you can keep track of what's going on with the Constitution Study. Hope to have some news to announce in the near future. You can sign up for the mailing list, keep up to date with events and changes. And interesting enough, if you sign up today, you will get a free copy of my latest essay, which I believe out there will be the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. You will get that absolutely free for signing up to the mailing list. If you want to find out more, if you want to share, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Patreon, lots of places you can get this information, and a lot of places you can share this information. I think it's very important to start sharing what the Constitution actually means. So I hope you'll head over there, give that a try. If you're a returning listener, excellent. I'm grateful you're here. I'm glad whatever you found was worth coming back to listen to more. In both cases, I'm asking you to head to the website, ask a question. I love getting questions. I love when people either want more information about a topic I either haven't covered or haven't covered as deeply as they want, or when people challenge my presuppositions, when they challenge my positions. Be my guest. All comers are welcome. And in fact, if it's a good enough question and we've got enough meat on the bones, I might even see if you can join me on the podcast to discuss your concerns and your issues. In any case, you can head over, share the information, follow me on Patreon, consider supporting me. I've also got a page up on Amazon if you want to see the essays that I've written and share those around. Head over to amazon.com/author/Paul Engel, all one word. You can find out more. Today I guess it's an interesting yet disturbing topic I want to cover today. It all came out of an article I read a little while back. It took a while for I actually was able to put this all in context, but it really drove me nuts. And because it's something I'm seeing more and more of day by day. And I named the article Thugocracy because it's really what I see our society today becoming. We're no longer a land of laws. We're now a land where whatever thugs can get away with, they do. And it really disturbs me to see all of this thuggish criminal behavior being ignored. We don't want to offend somebody. We don't want to make the situation worse. We don't want to do this. It's getting worse. And it's because we're not dealing with it. The latest example, the one that kind of inspired this topic, comes from an article from the Daily Press of Victorville, California. Seems that they had an Orange County crusade that was advertising banners in a local mall. Okay, not a big deal. But from the article, quote, after 2 weeks of being in the malls, the Irvine Company contacted Harvest and told church officials that the artwork on their banners would have to be changed to include non-offensive images because not only did they receive complaints about the ads, but also death threats. Now, to find out what could possibly be so offensive to not merely want it removed from the malls, but to issue death threats, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com, look up the article Thugocracy. I have a picture of it right there on the page. It's a picture of a guy holding a black book and the information about the crusade. Now, we can safely assume that since the person involved is a pastor and this is a church that has requested this advertising, the book he's holding up is probably a Bible. Terribly offensive. Let's see, going back to the article. Harvest changed the artwork, which included Pastor Lori holding a plain black book representing the Bible. In the end, the Irvine Company still decided to take down all of the ads and refunded the ministry's payment, according to John Collins, executive director of Harvest. So apparently somebody found the images so offensive They issued death threats. Harvest changed it. Didn't matter. Even changing the artwork was not enough to get the Irvine Company to continue the advertising. Well, at least they refunded the fees. But here's what bothers me about this and the myriad of other stories about people and companies being blackmailed, either from being thrown out of different locations or websites, just because somebody finds it offensive. We have people being refused service while others are being driven out by violent protesters. Most of the events have two things in common. First, they're being done by private entities, meaning the mall is a private entity, many of the restaurants where this is happening or other stores are private entities. Therefore, what they're doing is absolutely legal and absolutely constitutional. No, I am no way trying to imply that what Irvine did was illegal or violated anybody's constitutional rights. They are a private entity. They are not required to uphold our constitutionally protected rights. Secondly, though, these actions are being taken in response to non-peaceful protesters. Example, these people are issuing threats and they're acts of violence and vandalism. Yet rarely does anybody do anything against these criminal acts. Do you know it's against the law to vandalize somebody's property? Do you know it's against the law to even threaten violence against somebody? Yet rarely does anybody do anything about it. Rarely do you hear about police being called until well after the fact. And I've not heard of any charges being pressed against these criminals. I've even heard reports of police standing by while vandalism and violence is taking place right in front of them. And they're being ordered to not do anything because, well, they don't want to make the situation any worse. It's getting worse, folks. As I've said, these are private companies, and what they're doing is legal and constitutional, but it's cowardly, and it's anathema to everything our founding fathers fought for. When I was a child, I heard an oft-misquoted phrase, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." See, the idea back then was, I may not like what you say, but the right of free speech is so important that I will defend it even with my life. Today, it appears many Americans will not defend others' rights at all, and frequently not even their own. I believe this unwillingness to defend our rights and the rights of others is a consequence of a lack of education about our rights, where they come from, and what defending them has cost over the centuries. Now, unfortunately, forget defending them to the death. Today, most Americans won't even defend them because it's inconvenient. Now, what really got my dander up, as if my dander isn't up enough, but what really infuriates me, is the fact that America is fast becoming what I call this title, a thugocracy. We have a word for the use of threats and violence to persuade others to conform to our will. It's called extortion. Watch the news and you will find story after story about one group or another imposing their will on others through threats. Threats of violence, boycotts, sometimes using the phrase that we're offended is enough to back other people off. Excuse me. And most Americans and American companies simply roll over and play dead. They give these thugs exactly what they want. And I'm even seeing even cities and states are backing away, letting riots happen in their jurisdictions and doing nothing about it. Fiddling while America burns. Now, if what the private companies and individuals want to do is their right. But this level of cowardice and weakness and sheer apathy for the rights of others speaks volumes about the degradation of American society as a whole, this nation, and the founding principles it was born on. German pastor Martin Niemöller wrote a poem about cowardice shown by German intellectuals during the rise of the Nazis. Quote, "First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." I see a similar thing happening in America today, and it infuriates me. If I were to rewrite this poem for today, I would say, first they came for the rich, and I did not speak out because I was not rich, and I was afraid. Then they came for our rights, and I did not speak out because I didn't know my rights, and I was afraid. Then they came for the Constitution, and I did not speak out because I did not know the Constitution, and I was afraid. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. My rights were already gone. If we will not stand up for the rights of others, who will stand up for ours? If we let the thugs and bullies get their way unchallenged, what is to stop them from coming after you? It's like an American Western. We have become the townsfolk who are afraid of the bad guys and unwilling to defend ourselves or our neighbors. Who will be the good guy? Who will help us see that we can defend ourselves, our rights, and our neighbors? Will there be any backbone left in America, in the American citizen, when he or she shows up? We pride ourselves on being the land of the free and the home of the brave, but today we seem more like the land of the intimidated and the home of the coward. And it's not the nation that I want. It's not the nation that I believe we need, but it's a nation we have because we're ignorant. Now, my next episode is on a related topic. I call it Washington the Western. So hang around next week and listen to that episode. But notice a theme that we're seeing. We no longer know our rights because we let government teach us that our rights don't matter. Our rights are whatever somebody thinks they are. We don't understand unalienable rights. We don't understand the protections we have in our Constitution. We let others infringe on our rights and, well, they must know, so we let them get away with it. Then we have people, violent people in many cases, infringing on the rights of others, and we do nothing because, well, we're afraid of making things worse. They are worse, folks. This is the mess that has been made for the last 100 years of deconstructing the Constitution and your rights. And the only people that can change it are you and me. When we stop voting for people who tell the police, don't stop the crime because we're afraid we're going to make it worse. When we stop doing business with businesses that say, well, we don't really care about other people's rights. When we start giving our money to the people that will defend our rights and defend us, then things will change. But it's going to take time. It's going to take effort, and people are going to call us names, and they're going to make our life difficult. But ask yourself a question. Those of you who are parents or wish someday to be one, do you want your children growing up in a nation where the bullies are the ones in power and rights and law mean nothing? Where the concept of defending yourself against a bully is considered escalating a situation rather than defending yourself? What type of nation have we become when we are so weak and so cowardly that we will not defend anybody's rights, not even our own? I know this is kind of a disturbing concept, but it is where we are headed, and we are well down that path. I hope you'll take that into consideration. I hope you'll read, and I hope you'll study. Most of all, I hope you will think seriously about what it means to be American and to protect not only your rights, but the rights of others. I hope you will continue the good fight, and I hope to see you again the next time on the Constitution Study.